All right, welcome to another video, and this particular one will be on Python. So there will be, as usual, a playlist created for Python. How far it will go for now cannot um, be stated or said, but we'll take it as far as possible, giving you a flawless foundation to Python. And as usual, emphasis will always be on practical application, not about learning all the syntax, learning everything there is to know, but majorly on the important things that can keep you going, get you started, and keep you going. A good foundation that you can build upon yourself. So let's jump into it. As you can see, the notebook has been properly sectioned into chunks so that we can have a good idea of what to do, right? It's not coming at us at once, so it is broken down into sections. So let's jump in without further ado, the introduction to Python. So, well, what is Python? Python is a versatile programming language, and it is known for its simplicity, extensive library, and versatility, right? Its readability makes it an excellent choice for beginners. When you're starting, the structure of Python code makes it simple to learn. It is an high level, or it is a high level programming language, by the way, which means it is closer to human understanding, right? It is English, so you see more of English in what you're writing, right? While it is very powerful, uh, ecosystem for data analysis. That means you can use it to do, you can use Python for data analysis. Yeah, very, very well. You can do much more with it than native visualization would do. For example, when it comes to cleaning, data manipulation, and all of that. But it didn't just stop there. Like we said, it is versatile, right? It goes beyond data analysis, it goes beyond data science, it goes beyond AI and machine learning only. Yes, it is that versatile. It extends into software development and a lot more, right? So it can do machine learning, artificial intelligence stacks, and all of that. So why Python for data science? Why Python in particular for data science? Well, the ease of the language itself, like we said, it's easy. Python syntax is clear and intuitive, which allows you to focus on problem solving rather than wrestling with the complex structure of the language, right? So it is easy to understand. And it has a vast ecosystem of libraries, which makes it so beautiful. That means if there are other things you want to work on and you have a basic knowledge of Python, you have a good foundation, you can diversify into other things. Now, this tutorial or this particular video or the lessons on Python here will not completely be solely focused on uh, data or data analysis or data science, as much as its application might be tilted towards the direction, but you have a good foundation of Python as a programming language. Then the application is now on how you want to apply it, which niche do you want to go into, and all of that. So you can be sure to get all of those varieties in the series of the videos that will be coming right here. Okay, so we've mentioned versatility, that means beyond data science, it is used for web development, automation, scripting, more. It's making it a very high valuable skill. It is you cannot be wrong. It is an investment you cannot go wrong with. Learning Python is an investment you can never go wrong with. You can't. You just can't. Okay. So it is a very good programming language to learn. All right. Community support. Yes, it has a large and active community, which means there are more abundant resources, tutorials, support for any challenge that you might encounter. Just name it. There are answers already to whatever it is you want to do. There are answers out there. You just have to look for it. Okay. So yes, this is an introduction to Python. So we've mentioned or we've made emphasis on the fact that what makes Python beginner's choice, or one ultimate reason why it is more of beginner's choice and it's widely known and popular, is because of its simplicity in structure. You don't have to wrestle with the complex language constructs, right? The simple and easy to understand. So let's look at the basic syntax and structure of Python. Okay. Now, every programming language has its own set of rules for how the code is written, right? These rules are called syntax. So the code you write are not syntax themselves, right? So for example, in SQL, the codes you write are not syntax, but the rules that define how you write them are the syntax. So sometimes I love to call them skeleton or templates of, okay, if you want to do this, this is how, right? They are building blocks that, oh, okay. For example, let's pick SQL, for example. You want to create a table, you write the keyword create table first, followed by the table name. Then you do what? You open a bracket, you list the columns you want. That means the first column you want, the column name, the data type, and optionally a constraint. So that is a syntax. That is not the actual code. It's just the rule that guides how you create a table. Okay. So the set of rules that guides how a code is written is what we call syntax. So let's look at the fundamental building blocks of Python syntax. The first one and the most important one is the rule of indentation. And it is important that as a beginner you don't get it wrong, right? One beauty of what we'll be doing and what we'll be using, by the way, let me introduce you to Google Colab, okay, is that Colab and some other what's it called, development environment IDEs, they help do all of this indentation so we don't run into frequent errors of indentation. Okay, so they help in managing the indentation levels that we need. Okay, and it's very, very important, very, very important. So very important. Okay, all right. Now, unlike many other programming languages where we use curly brackets or we use parentheses, right? uh, Languages like C++, C Sharp, JavaScript, we find these curly brackets and all. For SQL, we don't have curly brackets, but we find the parentheses. Okay, we'll find parentheses there. We'll find semicolons. All of those things are there. But for Python, it doesn't use any of this. You won't find semicolons in Python. You won't find curly brackets. You won't find parentheses. Okay, you will definitely will, but they're not as much as they are used. So if you're coming from a different programming background, or you are an absolute beginner, you have nothing to worry about. We are looking over. You're taking it from the very from the very basics, from the scratch completely. Then you build it all the way up. Okay. So since Python do not use curly brackets and all, this means, okay, this is what I'm just reading, this is what I'm reading. So this means that spaces or tabs at the beginning of a line are significant. The tabs or spaces, they are very significant. Consistent indentation is crucial for Python code to run. Now, if you pay attention to this place, see the way it is. Now, the standard is 4 spaces per indentation level. Okay, the standard is in the indentation. Inconsistent indentation will definitely lead to an indentation error. But the point is, there has been an argument between using 4 spaces or using tab. Now, if you hit tab, and based on the design of the IDE, you get 2 spaces, not 4. Okay, so let me take this back. So if I do tab now, you can say I get 2 spaces. Let me take it back again. If I do 4 spaces myself, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see the indentation level is different. By the way, what is this that you're staring at? It's okay, there's nothing to worry about. It's just a simple conditional statement that's saying if true. If what is true? Well, we don't know for now. We're just saying as long as this is true, then it should print this line is indented by 4 spaces. Let me say this is indented by tab, not 4 spaces as well. This is indented using tab. Okay, so if I run this, let me try to run it. So it's waiting. Now if you look up here, it says connecting. By the way, while that is connecting, let me properly introduce you to Google Colab. Now, what is Google Colab? Google Colab is an environment, an integrated development environment that allows us to write Python codes and execute them. More than that, actually, it lets us do more than that. Now, the beauty of Colab is that, now let me give you some key features or some beauty about Colab. The first thing is that your work gets saved. That means you don't get to lose your work. Maybe something happened to your PC at some point, or there was a power failure. All those issues do not affect you. Why? Because your work is saved directly on the cloud. And the cloud in this case is your Google Drive. So if you go to your Google Drive, you can find all the notebook you've ever worked with or that you're working on. Okay, that is one. The second beautiful part of it is that you get to use a virtual computer. A virtual computer, a cloud resource. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say you want to run some heavy machine learning programming and all of that, and you don't have your personal computer, your laptop, or the device you're running it from does not have the capacity to run it or make it faster. You get, now if you look at this place, you can see I'm seeing a RAM and a disk, right? You can see I'm getting what? Currently, I'm being given what? 12 gig RAM. It's possible that the machine you're currently running is on is just maybe 4 gig or 8 gig. Now you're getting a virtual 12 gig RAM, close to 13, and you're also getting about 107 or 100 gig hard drive space, hard disk space, which is cool, right? Which is cool. So that means you don't need to have the best computer to run it, because Google Colab provides you with all of these resources online. And if you want more space, as you have seen there, you can go for even higher processor, disk space, RAM, to get more processing power as you please. So how do you get started with Google Colab? Yeah, I should have introduced that to you first. Just go to open any favorite browser of your choice, and in your search bar, just type Google Colab. And then when you see Google Colab, it's owned by Google, you go there and then you see create new notebook. Okay, just click on file, should be somewhere here. Just come here, you see file, then you see new notebook in Drive, and then there should be an untitled. You see untitled 1. If that's the first time, and that's the first notebook in your Drive, you see untitled 1, so it should appear here. Then you can click on this place to rename it. Click on this place to rename it, okay? And then you have this. So you can now follow along, write the codes. Okay, write the codes, follow along, take notes. Do not forget, it's important that you follow actively, not just passively, okay? All right, so now back to the code indentation problem. So it says, oh, on indent does not match any outer indentation level. Now, for this to be here, is expecting it to match something. Currently, there's nothing it matches, right? It's not matching anything. It's either is here completely, so we can know that, oh, okay, fine, it is on its own. It is not under this if statement, or we put it on the same level with the if statement. Now, if it is on the same level with this second print, that means it will only work depending on this condition. But if it is outside, that means regardless of this condition, this will print on its own. So consider this a kind of tree, a parent-children tree, node, right, where you have nodes that is connected to something all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. So keep that picture in mind. So that is something like what we have right here. So I'll do this. I'll change this to false so that we can see the output. So I'll change this to false. So now that this is false, what do you think it will print? If false, okay, let me put this as true back. If true, so to make it make more sense, I can just say condition. So let's do condition here. Condition. Okay, condition equals false. By the way, I know you this is if this is the first time and you're like, oh, what am I even writing? What does it even mean? Don't worry. So I'll say if condition. Now, what this means is since this is a boolean, so it will check if true. By default, it looks for true. So if it is true, then it will print this. So now that this is on its own, on the same level as the if statement, right? It should print regardless of this condition, right? So, but this particular one inside the if statement that was indented in the if statement is solely depending on the condition here. So let's run it again and see what I'm saying. But before I run it, let me just give you a quick explanation of what I did. Condition is a variable. What is a variable? We'll still say it properly anyway. A variable is simply a container that can hold a value. If this were to be an Excel sheet, you can consider it a cell reference where you type in a value. To get that value or to work on that value, you reference the cell, not the value itself, because the cell reference is what is holding the value, okay, in this case. So this is a container that holds a value. That is what a variable is. So condition here is a variable holding the truth or a truthy value of a boolean, right? False, true or false. It's holding a boolean value, yeah. So I'm saying if condition, that means if true, then print this. That means this line that is indented under this condition will only be printed if this thing is true. If it's false, it will not print. But however, because this is not on the same level, or excuse me, this is not nested, this is not pushed inside, this is not under the if condition. That means regardless of what the condition is, it will still print. Okay, so let's run it again. Now you can see this is indented using tab. This printed, but this did not print. Why? Because it is based on this condition. It is inside this statement. It is inside this condition. Now let me change it to true, and you see that it will print. So because we're saying if true, then it should print. So let's run it. Now you can see that both lines are printed, right? However, if I do something like this, the indentation becomes a problem. You can see that even before I run it, it's already underlined because it's not matching any level. Do not forget that the idea is parent, children, grandchildren, something like that. So it follows that kind of tree. So this must be under something, or it should be standing on the same level as something. All right, don't worry, we'll still get into it more, and then you have a better clarity. I really hope this explanation helps. If you still want more clarity on it after you get to the end of this video, right? Because we'll still see a couple of examples, then feel free to leave a comment, or a comment, ask a question in the comment section below, and it will be answered. Or better still, check the Telegram channel. The link is in the description below. Ask questions there, and then you get proper answer. Okay. So, however, of course, it's a long journey. When we get into the practical, we use it more, we make reference back to it, then you have more clarity. So, now, let's now look at what, okay, that should be there. Now, this is there, this is here, down here. So, let me just see if condition. Now, let's look at it in another level. If condition. Condition is currently true, right? So let me just leave it the way it is. Now I'm saying if condition, then print this line. But there will be an error. Why? Let's run it. Okay, it's saying, oh, this line is showing an error, right? It says this line is not indented correctly. Indentation error. Expected an indented block after if statement on line 11. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right? So it's expecting an indented block on line 11, but the error actually happened on line 12, right? So one thing I've always emphasized, except this is your first time in this channel or you're seeing a video from this channel, is that it's important to understand errors. When you see errors, do not panic, be patient, read through them, figure out what the problem is, whatever causes them, and make sure when you're fixing an error, you know what went wrong and you know the fix, so that when you see it another time, you know how best to handle it. Okay, so now this is saying it cannot print. Why? Because by default, after an if condition, because of the structure, it is expecting that something should be inside it first. However, if we are not sure what should be inside, we can say pass. Okay, you can just pass. We'll understand that better in another video. So if we pass, you can say it says this line is not indent. This line is not indented correctly. Yeah, pardon me. So if I change this to false, it will still print. Why? Because it's not under it anymore. Right? It's not under it anymore. So let me print it. You can see it is still printing this particular one. But if there is no pass here, that means this itself needs to take something. And how do I get it done? I must indent it. Okay, you can either use tab or 4 spaces, but just make sure that if you have another one, they are on the same level. You don't use space and 4 and tab, you don't mix them. Okay, so let's run this. Now it's no longer printing this two based on the condition, but if I change the condition to true, all right, if I change the condition to true now, you can see it is now printing correctly. Okay, so this is what we have, and we can see how that the lines have printed. Now, one takeaway from here is that as long as you write codes following the proper syntax, indentation will happen for you automatically based on the fact that we're using an IDE that understands Python. Okay, so if I write anything and immediately I put a colon, now look at it, once I hit enter to go to another line, you can see that it's not going to the end. Because of the colon, it understands that there is supposed to be an indentation. So that means it's important that we don't miss colon where necessary. Colon does not always happen. For example, we don't have any colon here. So as we write more code, we'll understand how this works. Okay, by the way, okay, when we get there, I'll also mention some few shortcuts that we'll be using instead of coming here to run codes, how to add new code cell and all of that. So for you to add a new code cell for now, just come to the bottom of the particular one you're in, and then you see code. If you want a text block where you can put something like a note, you can click on text, okay? Or you can click them up here as well. All right. So pro tip, most modern editors, I think I've mentioned this already, like VS Code, PyCharm, Jupyter Notebook, Google Colab, automatically handles indentation for us. Just make sure our editor is configured to use 4 spaces for tabs. Okay, but this is not configured like that currently, but we don't have any problem with that. Okay, so we can do the custom configuration ourselves to make sure it uses 4 spaces, but we're cool. All right, we're cool with this. Now, comments. Let's look at comments. Okay, now comments are lines in our code that are ignored by the Python interpreter. They're just lines. They're silent. You can consider them a side note. They used to explain what code does, making it more readable for ourselves and for others, right? You can consider them something that can help. Why is it important? It's common, right? That you can write a code and then you maybe take a vacation, or you worked on a project a month ago, so you have a vacation and you're back and you find out that you have to continue on the project and you're staring at the project and it's looking like Chinese to you. It's like, okay, now Chinese, if you are not a Chinese, or if you're a Chinese, you probably understand that, okay, yeah, this is Chinese, I understand Chinese. But so I think the right word to use is you're staring at it and it's looking like a foreign language. And you're like, okay, what is this? So, but if your code is well commented, you will not just help yourself, but also help others, especially when you're working on a collaborative project, you're working as a team, you're just working on a part of the application or whatever it is you're building, right? So comments come in handy and they're very good. So we have single line comments, which you start with an hashtag, and you have multi-line comments, which can also work as documentation strings, and they are enclosed in triple, single, or double quotes. Okay, triple, single, and double quotes, and we can use them in functions or modules for documentation, so that we can know this is what this function will do, or this is what a particular module is meant to do. What is a module? We'll still find out later as we proceed. Okay, so this is the basic building block for Python that you should know. Now let's now move on to printing. That means how to print out data. In SQL, for example, for us to get results and output, we have to run the select statement. Right. In Python, we just have to use the keyword print. Okay. We just have to use the keyword print. So let's look at how to print out some statements. What did we do here? We just have print for printing data analyst, for separating with a comma, which acts more like a concatenation, as if we're joining them. So we have data analyst 101 true, the foundation of data analysis for you, right? And then now we decide in this case that, oh, the separator will be this. So I'll just split this into multiple line of code. I think I'll take this completely. Okay, put this here. And also take this and put this here. All right. Delete this. I'll delete it as well. So here we have data analysis 101 true. We also have processing data stream. I'll say the end. And we have complete. Let's print it out and see what it looks like. So you can see. Now we have what? This is what we have. Because we changed the what? The separator. So these are just some common arguments that we can also use. But in the basic form and the simple bare minimum form, you can say, and just do print, and we'll say, this is how to get an output, okay, an output in Python. Okay, so Control Enter to run the cell. If you want to automatically add a new cell after running the current one, then you use Shift Enter. But if you just want it to run and stay in that cell, you use Control and Enter. So you see, this is how we get what? An output in Python. So this is another one. By default, print adds a new line at the end, and we can change it. If you notice, this is how we also what? Changed it. If there was no end here, right, this automatically would have been on a new line. So let's see how that works. You can see this would have been on a new line. But when we say end, so end is an argument, right? We still see what argument means properly. I will say, okay, no, just want it to be something else, right? Okay, I think I missed that. Yeah, that is right here. I missed the comma. So grading error will actually be very good. So it says, oh, invalid syntax. Perhaps you forgot a comma, right? So because it's more of two separate things that I'm passing inside a single print. So yeah, you can see how we brought that up. So I can add space to the front and also add space to this, right? So If I run it again, you can see how it works. So again, this way, hello world, right? By default, if there was no end, it will print hello and word on separate lines, right? But when I use the argument end, it prints what? Hello world on the same line. So I could have just had, yeah, had. So if I had comma, then it looks like this, hello world. What other separator can we use? That is the what? The hyphen. So we can say apple, banana, cherry. So these are quite a few tips that you might use to print out values in Python. Okay. So pro tip, the print function is invaluable for debugging our code. Very invaluable. Now, why are we looking at this? We can, let me add the code cell here. Remember, earlier we created a variable inside here that we called condition, right? Condition, and it's just a boolean true. So by default, we can get the output of a value by using just the variable name. You can get the output of a variable by just using the variable name. But the best way to get it is to use the print. So now let's look at it. I'll use the print. Now physically it might not seem as much. You can see it's just the true, but this is the best way. If this were to be a text, right? If this was to be a text, you would have seen a string, a single quote around the true when we don't use a print. But when we use a print, you see it the way it actually is. So let's simulate that quickly. Let's say test variable string. So if I print, so let me print test variable and just type test variable and I run it. You can see it's showing what? String, because this is the second time. So it's adding a single quote to it, but this one is printing properly the way results should be. Now, one of the things that also happen is that if I put this on top here, on top of this, and I run this, I don't get to see it because I'm not printing it. So except I wrap it in a print, that's when it forces it to print. So it will only print naturally if it's at the end, at the bottom, right? That's another thing you should take home with you. This won't get printed here. Okay, but it will be printed here. All right. So best practice is to use the print statement. Best practice, always use the print statement. All right. So pro tip, print function is invaluable for debugging code. We can use it to inspect the values of variables at different points in our program, in our entire code, at different points. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So we have seen how to print out something, which is the output. Also, is it possible to get an input? Is it possible to get an input? And yes, it is very possible to get an input. So let's look into that now. I'll expand this. Expand. All right. So the input function allows us to get input from the user via the console. Okay. The input is always returned as a string. Very important. Very important. So let's say, for example, we want to get username. Then we'll say input. Tell us your name. So we want to get their name. So I'll add a space, tell us your name. Then I want to get, let's just take this first and then print user name. Okay, so let's run this. Now you can see this is now prompting us from the console to type in what? A name. You can see that is so cool. So you can start thinking of how exciting Python will be. We're trying to build something that people can interact with, right? Which is very cool. So I'll say analytics flow. All right. So, and you see, because we just printed the name analytics, so that's what it did. Now we can use the knowledge of printing out just there to do what? To add something to it. So we can say, instead of just printing out our name, we can say welcome, then a comma. Then we'll put the username, right? So let's run it again. Then we'll say analytics flow, and you see we get what? Welcome analytics flow. So we can put a comma here as well, and then later maybe put a full stop or so, right? Just here like that. So now let's ask for, now do not forget, remember the input returns a string. So let's ask for the user age so that this can make sense. So user age as well. Now I'll take out this print here. I'll take out this print completely. So asking for the user age, I was saying age is equals to input. I will say enter your age. Enter your age. And let's say, for example, we just want to add 1 to their age by saying, for example, print. So we're saying this user, right? This user. Now we can say comma will. So this user, then we'll pass in the username, comma again, will be, that's now the actual age plus 1. So user age plus 1 next year. All right, so this is what we have. So let's run this. Let's get the user age and the name. So just keep it light, Joe, user age 12, and boom, whoa, we're getting an error. So what does the error say? It says, let's look at it. It's pointing to line 8. It says this point. You can see where it is pointing to, exactly this point. So in this user, it says convert string to integer. This is just our quote. Now, it has pointed where the error is coming from. So let's look at the kind of error. Type error. That means this kind of error is not a syntax issue. It's not that we omitted comma, or we omitted bracket, or we omitted something somewhere. No. But it is that it says can only concatenate string, not integer, to string. So it's saying this thing is not a number. User age is not a number. So I'm trying to perform this thing here, but it's not working. And if we look at it by hovering on it alone, if I bring my cursor, it's saying what? str, which is a string. Of course, we'll still look at data types shortly. It's telling us that this is a string. That means it is a text, not a number. So you cannot add a text with a number. If this were to be in Excel, Excel will just ignore the number. In the recent version of Excel, it will just ignore the number. It will not cause an error anymore. Okay. So what can we do? Or how do we quickly check? We have seen it already, that by clicking, just hovering on it, you see it's a string, right? So if you go over on this, you also see it's a string. Now, so that since both of them are string, let's look at one we created before. so we can understand the different data types that we have. So for the basic syntax structure, if we look at this condition itself, what does it say? A bool, a boolean. You can see in this case, this is a boolean. Okay, so that's just for you to see. So let's continue with this. So how do we work on that? We have to convert it. So how do we convert it? All we have to do is type int, open a bracket, and close the bracket. This way, we are converting. That means we are passing what the user gives us into the function integer. So when he receives that text, it converts it to a number for us. So that's the only thing I will change in the code. You can see I only added this int. Now let's run our code again. So I'm saying, I'm supposed to put that down there, Joe 12. And you can see it says this user Joe will be 13 next year. That's it. That's simple. By this time already, you should be enjoying Python and the simplicity that comes with it. So if you're liking the video already, just give it a thumbs up. Share with someone who you think might need it more than you. And if you are the person, then take it more seriously. Write notes, follow along, practice as well. Okay. All right. So we have been able to do what? Convert the age. Okay, this is where we converted the age to integer. Or let's simplify it. Let me simplify the code. This is where I plan to convert it. So we can say converted convt underscore user age is equals to int user age, then close the bracket, right? So then this is where we now output it, and we also print the user age plus 1. So here will no longer be user age, it will be what? The converted version of the user age. All right. So we can test this again. Let's run it. Let's say Biden 57. You can see this user Biden will be 58 next year. Of course, you can manipulate this to make more sense, to sound more good, as you please. Okay. All right. Pro tip: always be mindful of the data type returned by input. Very important. By default, the data type is what? A text. Don't worry, just in the next video, we'll be looking at data types. But if we expect number, we will need to explicitly convert the input string using what? Integer or float, depending on the kind of number we want. So we can either convert to integer, or we convert it to what? To float. Right? And yes, this brings us to the conclusion of the introduction to Python. And of course, as usual, you know there is always an exercise to do, something to keep your hands on, something to keep you going, right? And yes, I will be unveiling the exercise for this particular lesson, which is the introduction to Python, where you get a good foundation of how to get started with Python. Okay, so let's do the unveiling now. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is a mini milestone exercise, and we have it in sections like that. So the first thing is add a single line comment to the following code explaining what it does. So your comment should go here. Okay, so create a new cell by coming down, right, and clicking the code, or you can just make sure you are not active in the cell. How can you be active in a cell or not? Let me show you that quickly. If we go back here, I'm currently active. The same way in Excel we can be active and inactive, right? We're in the edit mode, not the command mode. So if you want to use shortcuts, you have to be in the command mode. How do you jump into the command mode quickly? Just hit escape on your keyboard, and you see that the cursor stops blinking. And if I hit B on my keyboard, it adds a new cell for me, a new code cell. You can see the cursor is blinking again. If I want to come out of it, and just type something. I want to come out of it, I'll hit escape again. If I want to add to the top, I will hit A on my keyboard. Okay, so let me delete these two. So to add a column to the top, that means a cell, a code cell to the top, you hit A, that's above, and you want one below, you hit B, which is below. All right, so type this code. Python is fun, put it in there. Okay, Python is fun, and add a comment to the top here. Add a comment to the top about what this code does. Second thing, what this code does. Second thing is write a multi-line comment, which will be a docstring for a hypothetical function called calculate average. So just assume you have to write a function, an average function, right? A function that calculates the average of something. So just write a comment, but it should be a multiple line comment, right? It should be a multiple line comment. Then write a program that asks user for their favorite color and print a message such as your favorite color is so. You can spice it up and also ask for their age, right? Their name, so they can say, oh, so person's color is this. Also, finally, ask the user for two numbers, convert them to integers, and print the addition of the two numbers. All right. So this exercise is for you, is to keep your hand going. Just few things that you have learned so far is something that will really help you, and you should really take it seriously so that you can get better in what you're doing. Okay, somehow it seems I jumped this place and then moved to this print here. So this is how it looks like. I could tell, so that's why I had to come back to it. So this is how a single line comment is. You can see this is what a multi-line comment is, and this is how a documentation string is. So I'll run this for the sake of running it, and then I'll show you. It prints hello Python. Why I ran it is so that we can check this function and see what it shows. Code. So if I type my function down here, you can see it says this is a docstring for my function. You can see this is what we type in there. If I take it out completely, it's no longer there. Let me take it out and run it again. Let me type my function again. You can see what it's showing, just some random thing that I don't understand. So this is how we can make a comment or a documentation string, that's the word for it, inside a particular function. And yes, do not forget to exercise, do well to put your hands on it, and I will see you in the next video where we will be looking at what? Data types. All right, till then, bye.